cooked ingredients, these are all like the raw, basic raw ingredients. So a lot of chocolate is made with roasted cacao beans. We're going to make this with the raw ingredients without roasting chocolate. So I was a raw foodist for like 15 years, so that's kind of where my background came in, and I just really love the taste and experience of raw chocolate, the flavors, and just so delicious. So chocolate, as people may know, it comes from a fruit pod. Has anyone ever tasted the fresh chocolate? Anyone? It's absolutely amazing. It looks like a big giant, like a pawpaw fruit or something like that. And you break it open, and there's this like white stuff inside, and then these like almond-looking things, and that's the cocoa bean or cacao bean. And it kind of looks like an almond, but it's a nut. And then, so traditionally that's then put onto banana leaves or things like that on the forest floor and let it ferment for a certain amount of time, and that kind of changes it from this kind of, it's a bit more white when it comes out the fruit, and then as it ferments it turns into this more, the alkaloids and the phytonutrients change and it becomes more of a brown kind of purpley colour. And then they'll dry that, and then sometimes they'll roast it, and then you get, so just pass these things around here, so you've got the nibs, somebody just wants to grab those things there. So that's the nibs where you start off with, so that's, you can taste those if you want to try them. So there's different ways of making chocolate. I'm just going to be doing a very simple, easy to do at home recipe. My goal is to get a stone grinder, that was my dream, and you can take that, like those nibs, and put them in the stone grinder for like 48 hours, and the stone grinders micronize it. So it's really hard to recreate kind of commercial chocolate, because it's been done in like stone ground chocolate, it's been done, and it micronizes it, so it's really, really fine. So we're trying to recreate that without having stone grinder and fancy equipment, which most people don't have. So then they'll be processing it like so we'll go to the next. Scout around. So then they'll press the oil out of it. So there's some extrusion going on, sometimes some heat, and they press the oil out of it. So you've got the cacao butter, so that's the oil that comes out of it, or cocoa butter. And I've got some here which you can look at. I've melted this in advance just to make it easier. Yeah, it's a little bit warm, so you can just get a good aroma of that. Yeah, just smell that.
That's the fact.
And then when you got the pound at the end and you empty it out, then you just rub it all over your skin and you smell great. So it's often a base. You see, cocoa butter is often a base in cosmetics. It's really good for the skin. Little smell-o-vision going on. Yeah, just be careful. Yeah. You can bring it back up now.
Sorry.
It's really not very nice. Should we chuck the next one up here?
Go ahead and take the cacao powder there. So then they press the oil out of it and they're left with this cake, and then they grind that up and that makes cacao powder or cocoa powder. So often the cocoa powder that's made into chocolate has been like gone through an alkali process to kind of change the bitters out of it, and that's why it's not. So when you taste something like the straight cacao powder, it's a lot stronger and it's more bitter because they haven't done the Dutch alkali process on it to kind of reduce those bitter alkaloids in there. So that's that straight cacao powder. And then sometimes, so when I mentioned you take the nibs or the beans and grind it up, you get the cacao paste. So that's before they take the oil out of it. And you can't actually, I'm working with this as an ingredient. And this is when you see on a chocolate bar, you see cacao liquor or cocoa liquor or chocolate liqueur. That's basically what that is. It's just the nibs just ground up to make that kind of pressed. You can try a little bit of that. So that's going to be quite bitter in that form as well. So it's almost like you just eat sandwich like a little chocolate treat with no sugar if you want. So what else have I got? And then so I like to use this is a little, it's not easy to get this sugar, but this is a kind of a very unprocessed sugar. It's known as vanilla sugar, or it's kind of a very raw sugar. So it's dehydrated at low temperatures. So it's really rich in minerals, the sugar that I use. So that's my chocolates. I have, if you people have tried them, it doesn't taste super sweet. It has more of a mineral taste, and I think it's in part that I use this sugar. You could obviously use, some sort of raw cane sugar if you wanted to. It's going to be a lighter taste if you use a raw cane sugar. So you can taste that if you want. And then I like to make my chocolates medicinal. I don't always put them in, but this is just a mushroom blend. So it's these are medicinal mushrooms, not psychedelic mushrooms. I promise. So this has got, I don't know if people know much about medicinal mushrooms, but they're really good for the immune system and just overall modulating the body. And this is just a blend of mushrooms. It's got chaga, cordyceps, reishi, what else we got in there? A lion's mane, so brain and overall body. You can smell this, but I wouldn't taste it. It's going to be very bitter. But I add this to my hot chocolate in the morning, so I'll make a hot chocolate in the morning and add that. So yeah, you can give that a smell, it will smell a little like that.
The last of us zombies.
Alright, so I melted this. So critical thing when you're making chocolate is keeping everything really dry. So everything has to be really, really dry. If you get any moisture in there, it's not going to temper properly. So today we're going to be making a tempered chocolate that stays good out of the fridge. If you just like make a chocolate and throw it in the fridge without tempering it, it's going to melt in your hand basically, rather than stay stable off the shelf. And tempering just means you slowly reducing the temperature as opposed to quickly reducing the temperature. And when you slowly reduce the temperature, the crystals in the chocolate form, and it's kind of like makes it more stable at room temperature. As opposed to you throw it in the fridge and they don't form properly. So it's this kind of magical really. It's forming magical crystals in the chocolate. So smell of vision over there. So I pre-melted this, so I just put it over a double boiler, basically just one pan, or you could put a bowl, and I just warmed it up until it melted. So I just heated it up. And I don't like to make it too hot, so I had to convert my numbers because I'm used to working, because I lived in America, I'm used to working in Fahrenheit. So I brought it up to about 37 to 40 degrees Celsius. And so I don't like to make it too hot, because then you've also got to be cooling it. So if it gets too hot, then it takes longer to cool it down. So, and also make sure the pan is really dry, so I don't get any moisture in there. So after I heat it up, I really dry that out. And I use a nice blender. It's a Vitamix blender, so just any blender will work with this. Make sure it's really, really dry. So I double dried that and make sure it's really dry in there. And I'm just it's just a nice way to mix the ingredients really. So I pour that in. I'm making a very small batch. I'm not used to making small batches, so I usually make about 3 times this size. So then, it's about 50% cacao butter, the recipe. People can write this down, it's very simple. 50% cacao butter, 25% cacao powder, chocolate powder, and 25% the sugar. So what I do with the sugar though, is I pre-ground it in the blender, and then I sifted it out. Because I'm not doing a stone grinder or anything like that, I want it to be as fine as possible. If I just put that sugar straight in the chocolate, you're going to kind of get more of a gritty kind of chocolate. You don't get that smooth kind of chocolate taste. So I ground it, and then I sifted it with a little sifter, and then so it's kind of like a floury kind of thing. So get that in there. Put a little bit of mushrooms in there just for fun. Spoon. Just give that a little blend. That's it. Make sure that's I usually have a spatula, but I don't have a spatula right now, so I'm going to use this silicone thing just to make sure that's mixed in with my bowl. That's about it then. Smells so good. Alright. So I temper in a bowl. So some people, the traditional way of tempering is they'll pour the chocolate on, I don't know if anyone's ever seen this, they pour a chocolate onto a granite counter and they'll scoop it, and that's like more of a, one day I'll try it, but I haven't tried it yet. So I just temper in a stainless steel bowl. What I really like about the stainless steel bowl, it just kind of dissipates the heat pretty well, so it can cool off. So.
Feel under pressure, Philip, with us all watching you.
What's that? A little
Feel
bit
under pressure.
Because I'm sure my temperatures are going to be slightly off on this, but that's okay. You get the idea.
Does the temperature play a big part?
Yeah, so the temperature is critical, so we bring it up to temperature and then that's slowly cooling down. So what I'm going to do now is, we'll see what temperature this is at. It may be too cold, I may have kind of messed it up a little bit. It should be okay. Maybe slightly cool. I'm already at about, I'm almost at temper, so it's because I let it sit, so that's okay. It's a little bit thicker, so it's actually naturally cooled down as we've been standing there. So normally I would have it a little bit warmer as I cooled it down, but I think it's hard to kind of time that. So. Yeah, it's kind of, it's already at that temperature, so let me just double check that again. So we are at, yeah, we're about 31 degrees, so we're pretty much ready. It would take a little bit longer if you were doing it straight out of the thing, so hopefully it will temper well. And then I'm actually going to put it in this. Oh, let's talk about that. Just let it steep. I have to pour this soon. So different types of molds that you can use. You can get these like silicone molds that work quite well. I don't know where you can get them here, but I don't know, maybe you can buy them online.
Yeah, you can probably get them online
And
later.
then you can,
Yeah.
they're more, so there's like high-end acrylic molds, but these are just like simple plastic molds, and they're hard molds. And you know you've tempered your chocolate well, because when you like do the final cooling, they'll just kind of fall out of the mold. So it's kind of cool like that. So I really like using these because it gets a really nice shiny chocolate on it. As you can see, this nice chocolate here. I'm just going to pour this. I'm going to go for it because it's starting. It's already big. And then I like to, let's see, I like to throw a few nibs in there. So you can throw nibs, you can throw raisins, I like white mulberries in there. But pretty much you can throw all sorts of cool stuff in chocolate.
Or you just put it directly in the mould.
Yeah, I just put it straight in
Right.
there. You can drop it on the top too. It's getting a little bit thick. A little bit thick. Cool down a little bit more than I would have ideally. That's the nature of live demos. That's too thick. I'm not going to heat it more. I'm just going to let it be. It'll be alright. It's too thick.
Will it cool down because you just made a
Yeah, because it'll be, told.
Yeah, that makes a difference as well.
It's alright. It'll still work. it normally would just pour right in, it wouldn't do this, so, but it's okay. Yeah, I went a little bit too cold with it.
Have to be quick off the
I'll
mark.
make it work. You get the point.
Yeah.
That's because it's, I'm doing this because it's thick, so I'm getting it to fall into the mold. It should work out great actually. And then, so now we've brought it down temperature, I will put it in the fridge, so I'll put it in the fridge for like 30 minutes or whatever. So again, just make sure, like if you put it in the fridge, make sure there's not too much moisture in there or whatever. But I'm going to put this in the fridge, and we'll take it out, and then we'll pop it out of the mold, and it'll look like this. There's the chocolate. What's that?
I'll have to try some.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions or they want to try some, you can, there's a chocolate right there.
If you try it, you can ask questions.